Hello, welcome to Starlight Talks. I'm here by myself this week, and I'm going to talk about selective mutism. So if you have any questions related to that, or just related to autism in general, go ahead and leave them in the comments. And I love to interact with you guys. Visit autism.com to see all of our upcoming things. We have such great things on our website happening right now, and I thank you everyone for registering for all the things that we've been doing. We have our meditation wellness activities brought to you by Melanie. Thank you for donating your time and Hi, Jacob. I started early? Yeah, I guess I did. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about selective mutism. So if anyone has any questions related to that, or just related to autism in general, I love interacting with you guys. And I know there's a lot on our minds lately. I've met a lot of people just being diagnosed because there's so much time at home to just, think about things and discover things about yourself. And so there might be new things you're realizing and stuff you can relate to autism. So go ahead and share your stories. I'm going to share my story related to selective mutism, and I'll explain what that is later on. But yeah, I was talking about going to the website autism.com and sign up for the meditation brought to you by Melanie. There's the movie night and game night social events. There's all the support groups for women, adults, parents. So many cool activities to sign up for. And then we have our mentorships, life map, parent coaching. So yeah, and everything's free all the way through next month to the end of May. So take advantage. And we always offer scholarships. So when it comes time to start paying for services, all you have to do is reach out. If you ever need help in the financial department, we don't turn anyone away. So yeah, do that. And I do these live streams called Starlight Talks every Wednesday at 7 Pacific Standard Time. And if you saw, we just started Unity Talks, so you can go back and watch the first episode of Unity Talks with Mark Lake, where we talk about services and acceptance and all the different things that we need for the autism community worldwide, and we all want to be united. Hi Haley, thank you for joining me. Cynthia says, hi, I'm a friend of your mom's and have been interested in your journey. Well, thank you for joining my live stream. Yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead, ask me. I love telling my story. Yeah, Haley, thank you for joining me every week. You're amazing. Yeah, so, do we have more? What's up? I'm going to be talking about selective mutism. I guess the biggest event that happened today is me and my roommate Molly were trying to figure out our air conditioning because it's been so hot, and we don't have any. That was the problem. So we kept turning the heat on, thinking it would get colder, and it didn't because we don't have air conditioning. So that was fun. Yeah. So selective mutism. So to start, I didn't know. I was diagnosed with autism at 16. So obviously selective mutism is for me is part of my autism. So I didn't know. I didn't have any diagnosis. I had no clue what selective mutism was, what autism was, any of that until 16, and probably after 16 when I started to do research and learn about it. So a lot of times before the diagnosis, there's a similar story, such as myself. When you're a little kid, you think everyone experiences the world the way you do. And it's hard to you don't even think about explaining that you're going through something different because there's just the assumption that this is how life is and there's nothing really to compare it to. So I didn't know what I was going through was so different. I didn't understand why it was so much easier for other people to do things such as speak up and do things in the situations where I literally had the inability to speak. So what selective mutism is, it's a spectrum like everything else, but um, the amount of verbalization people have, they can be completely mute, and then they could have selective mutism, which is sometimes verbal, sometimes not. And it can be just the loss of volume, so just the loss of some language, just the loss of vocabulary, loss of grammar. There's lots of different things that can be lost and variations of what that is in all sorts of situations, but that's the basis of what it is losing the ability to verbally talk. Sometimes even communicate in general is lost. And so for me, when I was younger, I spoke really early, like just a few months in. I was talking full sentences, but not to anyone except my immediate family, my parents, my sister. And no one else heard me, and they didn't really believe my parents when they said that I was completely verbal and speaking and up beyond where my peers were. So, and when I went to school, I was barely speaking and pretty much nonverbal um, throughout all of elementary school. Maybe I like spoke to my friends or just to Lillian. It was one on one, and but like I remember even when I could write, I started bringing a whiteboard to class, and I would write on the whiteboard and hold that up. And I did that through middle school and high school. I like on days where I was nonverbal, I did all those sorts of things. And in all my progress reports and report cards, they didn't say like she doesn't speak at all. They said like she needs to participate more and stuff like that. So my parents didn't really know that there was anything going on at school, because they knew how much I talked at home. I told stories about what happened that day and how much I really needed to communicate and be social when I got home because I really couldn't at school. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. One of the reasons people become nonverbal is too much information being processed. And that could be literally sensory information or it could be emotional information. So if you're overwhelmed with emotion, anxiety, those kind of things. So if there's like too much going on that your brain is doing, sometimes it shuts down different parts, and that could be the communication part. Um, um, so like in situations where like someone's bullying and there's a confrontation, that's one of the biggest reasons why I shut when I shut down, when I am unable to be verbal. And it was really frustrating because I wanted to stand up for my friends and I didn't know why. I wasn't comfortable around conflict for so long. It was because of this very scary situation of not being able to communicate. So there were some situations where like I was so afraid of giving presentations, of being called on in class, of popcorn reading, all those kind of things, because I didn't know when I was going to go become nonverbal. And I was afraid, my biggest fear is like during a speech, I would become nonverbal and not know what to do, and afraid people wouldn't believe me, or like I couldn't even communicate, that I can't talk anymore because I couldn't talk. And that was one of my biggest fears. And like I thought like that's why I was afraid of public speaking for so long, which is not a fear of mine now. But it wasn't because of judgment. It was like I didn't know what to do when I became nonverbal. Like I just would get stuck. And so I remember like being in classes that were like seminar based where like you have to participate and everyone's just like trying to get as many words in as they can and they're not helping each other out because they're all competing for points. And I would always fail that stuff, even though when I went to the teacher and said, you know what, this is really tough for me to interject and get, there were some teachers that were like really cool about it and would say, okay, write an essay on the topic so that at least I know you understand it and I'll give you the points. And there were some teachers that were like, well, everyone else was able to do it. And it's like, yeah, but I'm not everyone else. And now I can say, hey, I'm selectively mute. I'm literally not everyone else. I literally cannot. I do not have the capacity to meet those standards of speaking the same way everyone else speaks verbally. So Robert is sharing that he goes mute too. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing, I think, for those of us on the spectrum, but it's one of those that isn't talked about enough. We get like the completely mute or nonverbal, but we don't really talk about the selectively mute enough and all of like the nuances of it, which is why I wanted to share my story of being nonverbal and different experiences I have, because maybe other people don't even know that they're selectively mute and are trying to get through it when they could just use the words, hey, I'm selectively mute in different situations so that, they can get through it. I know, like, one of the biggest things that when I become selectively mute is like people will think I'm rude for being so quiet, which I don't get. Like I think I'm a really good listener and my friends like really appreciate that quality about me. And yeah, selectively mute people are very good at paying attention and listening. Oh, what's happening? My picture went black for a second. I hope that you all are still here and this is still live. But yeah, I remember being called rude and stuff like similar things to that for not answering questions that were asked of me or saying I don't know, or like there's also like that shutdown of being like I don't know how to answer this, so like shrugging, saying I don't know, saying I know. That's a more defensive answer that some selectively mute people have. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. And a lot of kids do that when they're like, there's so much information they don't know, and they're told that they don't know things all the time. There's the, I know. So there's that, like, I remember, here's a really good example, when my dad had a panic attack. It was the first time I think he'd experienced that. He didn't know what it was. He thought it was a heart attack, and so he told me to call 911. And being selectively mute, that put me in a very emotional situation that often makes me selectively mute. And so I had to call, and I remember 90% of the information in my brain just left. And they asked me these questions, and one of the questions was, what is his age? And I literally could not recall his age. I didn't know what number could be even close. He could have been 2, he could have been 100. Those numbers didn't compute to me, and they were like, well, can you give us, like, is he like 50? Is he 60? Is he like somewhere? Like, I was like, I have no idea. Because everything shut down except for what my body thought was important to survive. It's like, it feels like a survival instinct. So there's different situations. Like, obviously, okay, so he got to the hospital safely. They were able to do everything. And I think they thought I was a lot younger because I like got really soft and I got like higher pitched. I was like, oh, I don't know. Um, Robert says, I call it situational mute. Mine is caused by extreme emotional response with anxiety. Yeah, that is the very common reason why you would fall mute. And situational mute is a really good way of explaining it. Is like based on your a case by case basis, based on your situation. And like, yeah, selectively mute can be confusing. It's like I don't choose to become mute. You know, I didn't select this moment. It just happens to you. So situational mute, yeah, it's a better title. We should change it to that. um, so yeah, and being a public speaker and being someone who does, you know, these live streams and does a lot of talking for my job, it's, you know, not, it doesn't make sense to people like that I could be mute, but it happens. How common is that with people with autism? I don't know how common it is, but because I haven't looked into that, but I really think that a lot of people have it and don't know that they have it. I think it's something that's underdiagnosed and it's a criteria that isn't looked into enough. I mean, the criteria itself for autism is just not accurate. um, so to look at like what actually affects us with autism, I think selectively mute is higher than it is diagnosed. Because I just don't think we look into it enough. Like um there's so many situations, especially in girls, because you know, like it's more appropriate for girls to be quiet, especially at a younger age, and to be shy and to be all these things. And we label people as shy and quiet and introvert, and I don't think they necessarily are. And we have all these other labels that we're using instead of looking into like everyone as an individual and the reason why they do things. We focus a lot on the what instead of the why. So if it's like, why is this person quiet? Is it because they don't have anything to say? Or is it because they're having trouble communicating? Um, so that would be the difference between someone who's quiet versus someone who's selectively mute. Is like the quiet person, like just likes to listen, doesn't have much to say, where the selectively mute literally can't speak. My daughter does. Wendy says my daughter does this when dealing with anything about emotions or feeling. I wish I could help her just talk about it. I remember when I was really little, and I was going through something really emotional, especially if I had done something wrong. I remember leaving apology letters and different letters in my parents' bedroom. I would write a note, leave it on their bed, and let them find it later on. I didn't even want to see them read it because emotions are so powerful for us with autism because we have to have such a physical response to it, such as stimming, and it's it's really scary, especially as a kid, to navigate that and not know how to emotionally regulate. And especially if you're dealing with selective mutism and people are trying to get information out of you in that state of mind, it's a lot. So I know that there's a lot. Today, texting is such a great tool to use. I know there's a lot of those with selective mutism who like to text, even in the same room as someone else, send emails. You know, like there's so many like just write things down. Like there's so many tools we can use today that like I used a whiteboard because I don't think I had a phone that had like the texting keyboard till like middle school. And even then, there's like school doesn't let you use phones, so I like use my whiteboard a lot. My 13, yeah. Robert says his 13-year-old daughter does it too. So I think around 13, you'll see a lot more people with autism go into defense mode because that's around the age of puberty. That's around the age of social changes, and like there's so many changes and there's so much invalidation that happens where there's even that feeling of not being heard sinking in, and that gets really emotional when you put so much effort into speaking and then you're shut down by someone just by not feeling heard, even if it's unintentional by that person. There's so much feeling of being unheard. I remember that feeling at 13, where I would work really hard to communicate. It's like, you heard that wrong, you didn't say that correctly, and they weren't listening to like what I was actually trying to convey and what was going on and what I was feeling and going through. There's so much invalidation. Of like, oh my god, she's just a silly teenager, that kind of thing. I felt that a lot. And so like I really shut down a lot at 13. Wendy says, great advice, thank you. She's 18 but still struggles with it. Yeah, it's a lifelong thing, you know. You just have to figure out the best way for yourself to deal with it. I know I have advocates and people that I trust to speak up for me when I can't, such as my siblings. And like I have my service dog with me. I have, you know, he makes me feel so much safer than if I'm like by myself. And I found myself able to deal with more confrontations, especially if it's about him rather than about me. And I've definitely seen like notice the better my mental health is, the less I'm selectively mute. My says, how bad you sleep? It was really hot today, so Benji's probably asleep dealing with the heat. We just went on a walk to get food, and he was sort of breathing heavily. Robert says, wow, I'm in a mute situation. I get a massive painful lump in my throat and my ears ring and burn. Yeah, I definitely feel that. It's like my voice is caught in my throat and I can't get it up. Like I feel myself like swallowing a bit more. And like, yeah, it can be like there's a feeling to it. It's not like just like I'll go like open my mouth and like nothing comes out. Like there's like a weird sensation to it. And sometimes I can't even open my mouth. Like, it's interesting. Yeah, I haven't thought about that before. There is a weird feeling to it. Maybe I'll try and focus on that next time it happens. But yeah, selective mutism, that's a thing those with autism experience. Like, we experience so many things that aren't talked about. It's crazy. Yeah, and I just think it's a more universal story. And so, like, I wrote an article about my experience if you're interested. If you go to artism.com and click on the blog, I wrote my experience down if you need a written version, because I know some people like things written down more than spoken out loud. So I try to do both versions of my live stream, and then I do my articles, which are a little shorter, obviously, a lot shorter. Yeah, I don't know how common like the freeze instinct is, because you know there's the fight, flight, and then there's the freeze. And I have the freeze, and I wonder if selective mutism has to do with that. I don't know. When he says, what could someone say to help validate your feelings? When you're listening to someone speak, telling a story, telling their feelings, if it's something tough they're going through, oh my god, that has to suck. That has to be a sucky situation that you're going through. I'm sorry about that. If it's a good thing, like, oh my god, I'm so excited for you. Those kind of things. And just saying, I hear you, I'm listening, as someone's talking. all those kind of things. Like, and you don't want to hear a solution. Most of the time, most people do not want to hear a solution unless they ask for one. They just want you to tell them, "Oh my God, I agree. That's a hard situation that you had to deal with today." You know, oh, that's the thing that most people want to hear, rather than oh, well, next time you talk to that person, why don't you do this? You know, they don't want solutions. Like, unless, especially from your parents, you know, your parents parent you, like, so much. So unless I go to my mom and be like, I want advice on this, it's mostly me just going, I just want you to tell me, to validate I'm going through a tough time right now. He says, have you played Toontown lately? I played a tiny bit today. But I mostly play it in the evening at night with my sister, because she has a hard time sleeping because she's been in pain. She's had her arthritis and cramps, so we do that at night to keep each other company. Julie says, I have a student in my first grade class who was recently diagnosed. She also demonstrates selective mutism. Now that I know this, what could others do to help her feel better in the moment? I mean, just treat her like it's okay that she is going through that, and not to make her feel like she needs to speak. And that maybe there's like something she could do to gesture when those moments are happening, or you know, I like when teachers allow you to pass and on something, and don't make everyone participate, because not everyone has the capacity to participate all the time. And school can be like a lot. It's like 8 hours of just information overload all day, and so we need breaks from participating. You know, and you know, if someone's going through something at home or something outside of school, we don't always know about that, and that can be a lot to deal with school and then also other stuff. So I just don't like forced participation, and I think that's a big shutdown. And a lot of classes do that, like they do the popcorn reading, they do, you know, Jeopardy, and they do all like these games that you have to participate in. I wish there was like in a judgment-free way, like being like, if you don't want to participate, that's okay. You do not have to. And someone who's nonverbal can have the opportunity to sit down out of it, or if they like want to participate, if they're called upon and they can't answer, then being like, it's okay. Because it's like such a competitive environment, where I remember like people not being able to answer or getting the answers wrong was like very upsetting. And I feel like in order to learn, you need to feel safe, and you need to feel safe to make mistakes. So just a lot of validation, you know, for like all students, especially those who are different. Okay, so what did you do today? Yeah, I didn't. I didn't do much today. I needed a bit of a break because I've been working so much. But I had a meeting about doing some sort of social stuff online, like a new platform for talking, like Zoom or like something like that. With Danny Rady, so that's pretty cool. Robert says, I have to go now. I loved hearing you talk. Thank you for sharing your story. Oh, thank you, Robert. You're welcome, Robert. You're welcome, Julie. I'm sorry I do this talk. I think it's important to get stories out there, so more people know about stuff like this. Because like the first step is knowing that people like me exist that have selective mutism, and so the next time you ask someone a question and they don't know how to answer, maybe in the back of my mind you remember these stories and go, oh, maybe they don't have the ability to speak right now. Maybe they have, you know, and it's okay. it's totally fine that people are different and have different capacities at different times. And it has nothing to do with regression. I hate the word regression. I think that there's a lot of those with selective mutism that when they have nonverbal days, people are like, oh my god, they regressed and they lost language. They didn't lose language, they're just having a bad day. It happens to everyone. Our bad days look different. And they said, I saw the thing you did in Toontown with jumping things with the people. Oh my god. Yeah, so, oh my god, how do I explain that story? So, me and my sister were online and we found out that there's a few buttons you can press to make your character in Toontown continue to jump up and down, which is one of our both of our favorite stims. It was like, our character's stimming! And like, we were having so much fun doing that. And we got other people joining in because we were doing it so much. And herd mentality started taking over, and then we had like so many people jumping with us. It was really cool. Autistic people are very good at getting neurotypicals to join in on herd mentality because we don't have that as strong as neurotypicals. And so if you're really confident and start doing something, it was really interesting watching that because people come over, question what's going on, and then like they would walk back and forth, and then they would start like jumping with us. Like you could watch as they were like pulled into it and had to jump. And it was an online thing. Herd mentality is so weird. But I've done that a few times. It's a cool experiment to do. I'm teaching you how to brainwash people. Oh my god. When I was in middle school, me and a bunch of friends walked around this aquarium, like flapping our arms like to the side like this, and like walking like what we thought a penguin walked like. We got the entire aquarium to do that. So I almost got our entire restaurant to point at a bug. And this was before I knew what herd mentality was. We just like were a bunch of middle schoolers hanging out doing all the same thing, and like people were like, oh my god, what are they doing? Oh, is this the thing we have to do? And it's like you get more people to do it, people will walk in and be like, oh my god, everyone's doing this for some reason, I guess we have to do it. Those of us with autism tend to question that more, like, why are you doing that? And we don't pick up on social norms. Social norms don't exist. It's made up rules. Social norms are like, someone else is doing this, and to make me comfortable, I'm going to do the same thing. Herd mentality. So we did it in a video game, and we got like 20 people in this video game to do whatever we were doing. And then my sister started playing with this, and she started saying things, and then everyone would say the same things she did. It was crazy. Haley says, I used to play Club Penguin and Pop Tropica. I used to play Club Penguin. I don't think I know what Pop Tropica is. But I know Club Penguin was also recreated by a fan. So that's around. Julie says, my son Adam is watching tonight. Oh, hi Adam, thank you for joining. Yeah. My mom says I was going to ask you to tell the aquarium story. Chloe and her friends got everyone at the aquarium to walk around flapping their arms. It was amazing. We did, it was crazy. Oh my god. Julie says he just told me he has experienced selective mutism. I would never have known if I didn't stumble across this tonight. Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys are able to connect. I have all the live streams are saved if you want to watch past ones. And then I have blogs. If you go to autism.com and click on the blog, I have stuff I've written down. And I know like there's a lot of parents and their children that have read my articles together and been able to communicate things they weren't able to communicate before. So I highly recommend doing that. if that's of interest to you, or watching, if you're more of a video person, I have all my past live streams saved. I have one that I think is called like "What is Autism" or something like that, and me and my twin sisters talked about all the traits of autism and how it affects both of us differently. And I think that one might be of interest if you want to go through that one. Hi, Grammy. I'm talking about my selective mutism. Yeah, when was the first time you really heard me talking a lot? Because I think I was nonverbal a lot when I would like have sleepovers at your place when I was little. Yeah, I remember like that break in routine. I've talked about before how that was tough for me going to the sleepover at your place with Papa, and like there was a lot, so I was selected. I was definitely mute a lot when I was little. And we would go to like the restaurants. I was mute a lot at restaurants. I remember you guys like trying to talk to me, and I was unable to talk. Haley says you should bring Alex Plank back. I'm sure you'd love to be back. Did you know Alex Plank is on Toontown? Oh my god, he's played a little bit on Toontown with us. Julie says, where do you find the past videos? Yeah, oh, well, Haley posted the YouTube channel. I need to update that. But if you go to the Autism Facebook page and you click on videos, they're all under there. And I do all the Starlight talks, and then we have the new Unity talks coming out. We had our first episode. Yeah, thank you for sharing the YouTube link, Haley. That's very helpful. And I'll have Unity talks also on YouTube eventually. Because I know some people prefer YouTube. But I remember when you and Alex stayed a few days in Bailey. Bailey's her dog, just to make that clear. Yeah, me and my friend who I've known since middle school, we used to stay at I think it was during high school. There was like a week over the summer we would stay at my grandparents' place. And she has the dog Bailey. She liked to eat my socks. And I had like the knee-high socks. And I was always freaked out, like, what do I do? Yeah, I think Alex is like one of the few people I really connected with really quickly and just was able to talk to. I didn't have the selective mutism much around her. So I think that's probably where you started hearing me talk. It's like when I brought friends over like that, probably. Because adults were harder to talk to, but I like sitting with adults and just listening. But I was much better like talking with like people one-on-one. I still am. Yeah, one-on-one is so much easier to just talk with. He says, Alex has TikTok. Oh, yeah. He has TikTok. I'm on his TikTok. Lillian's on his TikTok. Oh, yeah. And I'm on another TikTok now. I'm on my little sister's TikTok. I don't have my own TikTok. I don't watch TikTok. I just on other people's TikTok. When they want me to, I just do it. Yeah, thank you for watching my TikTok. If you don't know what TikTok is, it's like this app where you can watch quick little videos that people make. I've made a couple from other people's stuff, other people's accounts. I'll get some water. Yeah, thank you for your questions and everything. It's been really interactive. Yeah, you can dance and lip sync to songs as well. Oh my, yeah. Yeah, it used to be Musically. It's like now it's like a combination of Musically and Vine, where you can do the dance and lip sync, but you can also just do videos for you to talk or act. Julie says, thank you for the great info, Adam, and I will be sure to check out your other videos. Good night. Oh, good night. Thank you for joining, Julie. Yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to reach out to me. Yeah, if anybody has any other questions, I'd love to answer them. If not, I'll start wrapping up. I think that's about it about selective mutism that I have on my brain right now. So check out artism.com, where I talked about, I have the blogs on there where I talk about living on the spectrum. I have, you know, we have all those services and events you can register for, and everything's free right now all the way to the end of May. So take advantage, try out whatever you want. I have, I'm a mentor, so if you want to sign up for mentorships, I'm quickly filling up. So like, if you want a mentorship, you gotta grab that fast because I don't have many spots left for that. But there's other great mentors, and then there's Life Map, and then we have all of our events. If you click on the calendar, we have the meditation, which I highly recommend right now if you're dealing with anxiety and any strong emotions happening right now. It definitely helps with your energy levels. We have our social events for those that need to be social. There's the movie night and game night. What else do we have going on? We have we have the support groups. I'm the host of the women's support group if you're interested in joining that. There's the adult support group, and then there's the parent support group. Oh, parent coaching as well if you're a parent. So all that fun stuff, artism.com, services or click calendar, my blog, and then I do these talks every Wednesday at 7 Pacific Standard Time. So please come back next Wednesday for the new live stream, and you can click on Artism, click on videos, and see all the past live streams. There's also a YouTube channel, Starlight Talks. And then join us for a second episode of Unity Talks. I don't know if that's weekly though, but whenever that comes out, click on check out Unity Talks. Yeah, and all of the social media normally updates everyone on what's going on, so you can follow that or sign up for the newsletter. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, Lisa, she has to go. Well, it's perfect timing. Thank you guys for watching. Stay colorful. Good night. Goodbye.